Buenos dias, ¿cómo estás, hermano and hermanas? Shalom. Tu eres Machispa, or you could say Machismo. I'm talking to all, and please forgive me for my language barrier and the distortion that I may have said. I'm sure you can forgive me on that end. But I also want to talk about the side of the Hispanic culture that people may not be familiar with whatsoever at all. After all, you have problems and issues in every single culture that you live in. But, these machismos, or machispas, whatever you want to call it, these are men who have an exaggerated, inflated, high, lofty opinion of themselves, a bunch of losers that nobody else seems to share. And in this culture, you have to understand, they actually have this belief that they are machismo, simply because they can dominate their females, even to the point of brutally beating their rear end. And that's what makes them machismo. It is just crazy as I don't know what. And of course, this is what they call love. And matter of fact, they have a caveman mentality. But you can see everything quickly changing, because today women are not putting up with all this garbage and all this crap and stuff. And of course, some of them are. When you're birthed into a culture, and that's just the way it is, when you are around the influence of a bunch of losers, that's just the way it is. And hopefully that you pray to Yah and He delivers you out of that mess. But that type of culture, I would see Americans are deceived because they assume that all Mexicans and all Puerto Ricans or all Hispanics are all hard-working people, and that's not the truth. Matter of fact, that culture is just as lazy, if not the more lazy, than men in this culture right here. The ones that you see are the ones who understand family values, morals, and ethics, and they will go pick tobacco in the field in order to put food on the table, a roof over the head, clothes on the back, and shoes on the feet. But today you got men that, especially in the Hispanic culture, those who are machismos, they will not bow down, because that's what they think they're doing. They think that their manhood is being challenged if they actually submit and go bow down and go work literally for somebody else. They don't care if their family's starving. They don't care if they get put out on the street. They don't want any input whatsoever at all from their wives or whoever it is of a feminine nature. Only when things are not working out, then all of a sudden they want to rise up, and then they want to beat up on their wives and stuff, and because everything is not going the way that they thought that it would. I tell you, I'm going to do some preaching and teaching here on mental illness so that we can recognize the signs of mental illness, because we're dealing with a lot of mental illness today. And mental illness is trying to pass itself off as the functioning nature of today. So it makes no difference if you're in the Hispanic culture, the American culture. It makes no difference whatsoever at all. You got these people who think that they're a macho man. And of course, their macho-ness comes from them laying hands on, beating up on women. But when it comes to meeting a man, all they'll do is talk. That's all they got is a bunch of this. Talk. Just words. That's it. Because they dare not to run up against a man and lay their hands on a man the way they would a woman. And I tell you what, this type of aggression and this type of male domination of women, I don't agree with whatsoever at all. I guess I don't understand it because, with Sister Carol, I don't have to sit up there and rise up. I don't have to grab her by the throat and by the neck and lift her up against the wall and smack her around. I ain't never done it. Never have done it. And Sister Carol and I have been together 30 years. I ain't never had to do it. Now, have I had to raise my voice? Plenty of times. Have I had to put restrictions on it? Plenty of times. But make no mistake about it, I'm a man. But I don't rule my house by male aggression and domination. I rule it by love, example, leading by example. That's how I do. And most people see, when you do not understand what the Bible says, and no matter how much, I've learned this, no matter how many examples you have before you in your life, when you are bound, all you can see is your excuse. You can clearly see the path, sitting in front of you of an example of what somebody's showing you the way that it should be done, but because you're envy, you're full of jealousy, nobody knows your situation. Now, let's just face it. Men, you're too sorry and too prideful to admit that you need to change. So therefore, you dig in, you hold your position, and you never change, and your family suffers oppression. Now, if you are a woman in a very oppressive relationship, Pastor Dial is going to tell you to get out. And I mean get out fast. Life is too short for you to be living life under oppression, especially getting your butt beat and slapped around and stuff by a man who thinks he's some type of machismo or Machispa. That is crazy as I don't know what. But you need to actually remove yourself and your children from those situations, those abusive situations. Because it's getting to the point now that you can't even go to what you call the police or the so-called officials and get any justice today. The only thing they'll come is and they'll take a pen and piece of paper and they'll write a report after the crime is already committed and stuff. And you don't need to place yourself in a position to where you'd have to do something that you regret for the rest of your life. You won't believe how many women are in prison today simply because they killed men like this in order to preserve their children. And because we have a wicked system of injustice, there's no justice about it all. They throw her in jail simply because she killed this guy in self-defense and preserved her children. So now she has to do all this time and miss the life of her children growing up. But that's what you call Anglo-Saxon, European, Roman, Greek law. That's what you call that. I believe in the Hebrew, Israelite, biblical law. I don't have any problem with the Greek, Roman, Anglo-Saxon, Christian, American law today because my laws that has been passed down through my ancestors are higher than the laws of this land. And they're not in conflict because as long as I'm obeying Yah's law, I would never break a man's law unless they start doing like they're doing now, passing laws that, that people, hey, you have legalized sodomy today, and nobody ever says anything about sodomy, but it's legal today in many, many states, and about 17 of them now. And guess what? Soon, sodomy is going to be legal in a city, country, parish, town near you. Are you going to put up with it? Are you going to put up with it? But anyway, but you have passive, effeminate men in the Hispanic culture as well. I mean, can you imagine a man going to some of these places that women go to and get pedicures and, wait a minute, I got it all wrong. Pedicures, I think, is the feet. Is that right? Do I got that right? Yeah. Pedicures, feet, getting pedicures, feet. And then manicures with their hands. You sitting in there, you go in there, you pass by a place and you see these machismos, you see them laid back like this, getting manicures. I think it's right, manicures up here, then pedicures, are getting so-called pampered. Calgon, take me away. Whoa, boy, I tell you. And then they get home, and to make them feel more macho and manly, they beat up on their wives. If you're in this kind of situation, take you and your children and run. Where you going to run to, I don't know, but don't come here. I got enough on my hands. Believe you me, I have enough on my hands. But find some safe place to run, somebody who will actually protect you. You know, the only reason why people can sleep sound at night is because there are men, and I mean real men, that are willing to do violence in order to make sure that you're secure and you're sound. That's why that many people can sleep sound at night. You know, if people would follow the principles and the teachings, the rules and the guidelines that I'm putting forth and stuff, you could have a peaceful home as well as a peaceful society. You can have a home of love. You really could. But man, I don't respect none of these, I call them Napoleon imps that run around and beat up on their families and stuff like that and think they are machismos and all this other crap and junk. Man, I tell you, what a sick world we live in today, huh? What a sick world when other men can run around and give each other high fives because they can go home and beat their wives. I'm telling you, the Hispanic culture is all jacked up. And of course, a lot of that jacking up and stuff is because I could be inbreeding, I don't know what it is. But I know it's not like that all the way across the board. Don't get me wrong, because I've met some good Hispanic brothers and sisters. Very few, but I have met a few of them. But the majority of them I personally have met have all been jacked up. And I do mean jacked up to the zenith, jacked up. Way jacked up. Out of this atmospheric cosmos. I mean, they're I'm telling you, they are messed up. The Bible says if a man don't work, he shouldn't eat. And what are people going to do today? Well, they're going to do anything they can to eat. They can another definition of these tú eres machismo or machispa is they believe themselves to be players. You hear that? They believe themselves to be players because they don't know how to run their house with love. They don't. And in that culture, it's okay for a man to have a wife and 5 and 10 girlfriends. You know why? Because he's machismo. He's machismo. He ain't got no responsibility. He can't even accept responsibility on his own home front. But women out there, man, you got to ask yourself, what is your problem that you allow a man to go out there and run around like that and you will still put up with that garbage and mess? What kind of issues do you have? Are you that rejected or are you that bound? Do you feel like you have no place to run and no place to go? There's always an out. Just like there's always an out outside the city. It's called put one foot in front of the other and don't look back. Well, what about this? What about that? Break all those cords of control and get free. That's how you do that. But anyway, hey, I don't know. I speak out the alternate conscious. I know I do. But hey, maybe somebody will get this. But I tell you what, any of you women in that Hispanic culture, them men are not wired right. And neither are you wired right if you set up and you continue to keep putting up with that abuse when there's ways out. You let machismo, macho man, machisma, whatever word he want to be, machito, whatever he want to be, you let the boogers run around in machismo, chisma, and looking at the empty walls of a house and let them be the macho man of that castle all they want while there ain't nobody there for them to whoop up on and beat up on. Let's see how much of a machito they are. Woo, boy, I tell you. All right. Hey, y'all have a good day, all right?